What's up, guys? Brett Sikora here. Welcome back to the Align Podcast. Today we have Jamie Moreng.
You got it right. You got it right.
Really good friend of mine. Go way back. You've been doing this since were you licensed like 2011? We go back a little bit, right?
2011.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a good guess on my part.
exactly right. Yeah.
And actually, one of the things we were talking about earlier was going from part-time real estate agent and kind of transitioning into full-time. So for the viewers to understand a little bit about your background, why don't you bring them back to like, what were you doing before you got licensed as a real estate agent? And then what brought you to that?
Yeah. So after college, I graduated hospitality from Delaware, and after college, I went into finance for forex trading. So I was doing some retail, institutional,
Okay.
work with companies in Saddle River and then in the city. So right from there, I moved on after that, after 2 or 3 years, to join our family business, some metal manufacturing business in Totowa.
Nice.
So I ran our sales department there. And day to day, I worked in our family shop for years growing up, since I was in high school. And at the time in 2011, when I got my license, it was just for a little extra side money,
Right.
I owned a condo in Hoboken,
Yeah.
2 bed, and I was like, hey, listen, I'll be able to sell this or rent it out. We don't know, whatever it may do. And then I'll do some rentals on the side. So I started with rentals right in 2011. And, throughout those years, 2, 3, 4 years, I started to build up some clientele. We were doing probably 30, 40,000 a year, in rentals.
Yeah.
Back in the Zillow days where, you had to post on Zillow and, a lot of cast iron loft buildings and all that. So,
The rental game.
yeah, the part-time money was good. And, yeah, there was a crossroads where, I was making enough in real estate through mostly buyer representation, representing a lot of buyers, where I felt like that transition to full-time was there for me. And the family business was great, but, just something that I thought I needed to pave my own path,
Yeah.
at a certain time to, to grow.
And when you made that transition, now you're originally from Bergen County too, so Hoboken, Jersey City, you probably had a decent amount of sphere of influence, and you were kind of in that age group too, where they were doing some transactions as well, I would imagine.
Hmm.
Um, I remember you having a bit of a Mike Ferry background at that point too, right? Didn't you start doing a decent amount of prospecting, or when did that really come into play with the listings?
Yeah, so there's so much involved with the story, but basically, when we had our first child, who's 10 now, we moved back into Hoboken, and we ran into a toxic mold issue in Hoboken, where basically I had to decide, like, what are we doing? Like,
Right.
so I actually moved in with my in-laws,
Yep.
my wife's
I
family.
remember that. In Rockaway, right?
Yeah, quit my family job cold turkey, like
Yep.
no salary. Probably should have, thought about that a little bit more, but just quit. My friend John Scipione, you know him, he's
Yep.
at EXP. He was with Mike Ferry at the time, so hired a coach, like a listing coach, and just hit the ground running from there.
Yeah.
So I was at Keller Williams with you guys
Yep.
nonstop, 8 o'clock every morning, 8 to 11, 3 hours a day prospecting for probably a few years.
I don't want to just glaze over that though either. What people, I feel like the people don't understand like the amount of commitment that goes into that. When you quit the job,
Mhm.
you're dealing with a mold issue. So then you're commuting, plus you have a newborn on top of that.
Yeah.
And I think that I want to say, I remember talking to you. You were putting a lot of miles on your car at that, right? Weren't you like driving in really early in the morning and
Yeah.
going all the
I
way
mean, we're in
back?
Morris
And
County, Rockaway, so like 45, 50 miles, right?
yeah,
To Hoboken,
it's like an hour without traffic.
Yeah. I give my wife a lot of credit because I don't think many wives would do that, right?
Yeah.
Take a step back, move out of Hoboken with your parents. So I think, leaving, I was left at, 6 a.m. every morning, got home at like probably 7:30 every night
Yeah.
for that year or year and a half we were with her mom.
Yeah.
And then just to repeat it every day. So yeah, it was definitely very stressful, but I think through that Mike Ferry system too, it taught me. I like to complicate things, when it comes to calling or marketing or whatever.
Right.
But he just taught me very basic systems in place, right, to help you with the business.
Yeah.
Right. So I saw all the success that those Mike Ferry agents had, and I was like, well, if I could do this, like these agents do, why can't I generate the same business?
Yeah.
So that's what I did.
And it worked.
Yeah. And it was, I was proud because growing up in a family business,
Yeah.
a lot of your friends, the talks behind, oh, there's a family business, you have security there,
Yeah.
but I had no ownership, right? So at the end of the day, it wasn't mine, right?
Right.
And so what I was proud about was building a real estate business, not from friends, family. I had no clients that were friends, family.
Right.
All my clients were strangers.
Yeah.
And I took pride in that because, we were calling for rent by owners, expired listings. That was the stuff that, is hard, right, to generate. But
Yeah.
when you do, it's very fulfilling because I felt like I needed that stranger business first, that business before I could attract friends, family that really wanted to hire me for
Yeah.
the job, the buy and sell side.
I feel like I went through that same journey too. I came in 2007 and I was 21 years old at the time. And I started working in Hoboken in 2008. And I was like 22 then. And I just didn't really know that much about the way the world worked. I didn't have the right mentors in the world of real estate and was kind of trying to figure things out. And then I was working with David DeVoe and Liberty Realty as I grew. It got to the point where then I want to say by the time I was 27, I had enough confidence because I had already screwed up on people I didn't know where let me go in and take care of the folks that I do know. And I think that really, for me, not having that background to feel confident in that world has been a lot of what I'm geeking out on the process here, where we're making sure that agents have that depth, whether they're brand new, whether they're experienced but don't work their sphere of influence. We want to make sure that they are like the billboard. They are the outlet for everybody real estate related. And that's what makes those, come list me start coming around that a lot of agents, are constantly on the hunt for.
Yeah, for sure. And, that was where I started off, right? With strangers, expired listings for rent by owners.
Yep.
A lot of the agents that were calling, prospecting every day, when you see a $1,500 lead in the system, you're looking at subconsciously, I think the agents were looking at the number, right? But it was really that $1,500, for rent by owner lead could have owned 10, 15, 20 properties.
Yeah.
And so a lot of my first clients were investors that owned, multifamily units. So, we'd rent out the whole building for them. And then, a year or two later, they might want to sell and, start that process again. So it was eye-opening.
Do you feel like that? So now anybody that doesn't know Jamie, one of the best, if not the best in new construction, Jersey City, Hoboken, like absolutely crushing it with a lot of developers in that world. And do you feel like that kind of paved the path, like reaching out to for rent by owners started to get you into the investor lingo and whatnot? Like where did those relationships really start to cultivate for you to get to where you are today?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think the rental process helped me understand the market value, right? So when you're looking at multifamilies, in that case, starting off, I mean, I knew exactly what the rents were, what kind of renter quality you're going to get in specific areas. So that's very important to whether you're a first time investor, knowing your temperament, right?
Right.
So that was how I can demonstrate, the value of these properties, tenant quality. On the developer end, it just happened. A lot of actually bad numbers were the best calls I've had. So I feel like some of my investor and developer clients actually that I'm working with now were like off wrong numbers. It was like family member, right? So yeah, so a lot of my business now is new construction condos, and those relationships are super important because I think we're aligned in the terms of quality, right?
Right.
The new construction quality and the marketing and the services that we offer, the highest possible quality of service for them.
Right.
It just we align perfectly, and it was just the right situation at the right time for some of these clients that I'm now working with and have the best relationships with.
Yeah. And as we're starting to see too, like us aligning and us playing together, we've always kind of talked about, all right, how do we get into the business together? Like obviously we're at EXP together, but how do we really like make 1 + 1 = 3? And with you're so good at cultivating those relationships that, I said, well, let me come behind and help you build the sales team of, really high producing 6-figure earners to help support that business. And let's go get more new construction in Livingston, Verona, wherever it may be. Like,
Yeah.
let's really develop the new construction division. And I think that's really exciting about, your background so far and then where we're going,
Mhm.
because not only do we have, a high need for, so any realtors that are watching this right now, if you have interest in new construction, like open houses, development, good price points, great clients coming through, Jamie's your guy. Definitely reach out to him in regards to that. But, you know, we're also going to be taking that deep dive and geeking out on the process of, like, David DeVoe. Can't wait to have a phone call with you where he's like, dude,
Nice.
let's talk about, you know, developing more and more and more and
Yeah.
having these, you know, builder ideas around marketing to them and how do we get those relationships. And
Sure.
then Jamie has a track record
Hmm.
to land the sale, you
Sure.
know?
Yeah, no, I love it. I love that angle. And I think in terms of where my business was, you know, I had the pain points of trying to grow a team or a small team, right, while still in production,
Right.
right? And I think you've been through all that,
Yeah.
And I think some agents have an ego to say, the new sexy thing is to build a team, but that might not be the best for everybody, and
Yeah.
it wasn't for me. Because I'm still selling every day and I want to focus on, what I'm good at, right? And that is, a lot of the business, new construction business. I think that we can do a lot of great work and grow that market.
Yeah, and that too is something we've talked about. So, like, again, if you're an agent that, let's say, a developer,
Mhm.
but to your point, when we were talking about, like, I wasn't really confident enough to reach out to my sphere. Like, I was personally, when I was starting
Mhm.
out and I was 21, I was afraid to say the wrong thing or to screw up a transaction.
Yeah.
Whereas, think about somebody might have an uncle as a builder who has 14 single family homes going up right now,
Hmm.
and they know him, but they know they're not the best person to be selling it. That's where, like, you can come into play as well,
Sure.
where it's, let us go and present to you're going to be there through the whole process with us.
Hmm.
But we want to make sure that we go in and land that account, and we make sure
Yeah.
that we net that seller the most amount of money and give that seller the best experience possible.
Sure.
And I think that too is something that, we see with our commercial division. So many people know so many people, and they're right under their nose with certain things, and they're just not thinking in that way. Um, we were even saying too, we have 70 agents or so in New Jersey drive around all the time. If they see a builder sign,
Hmm.
take a picture of it,
Yeah.
write down the address, give it to us. We'll reach
Hmm.
out. We'll bring you in on the deal. Like, we'll cultivate that whole
Yeah.
relationship with you. But, like, you can be a bird dog
Yeah.
on this whole side of things too. And it's really a great way for any agent, in New Jersey or in any other locations that we're in, to start getting into that new construction development if
Hmm.
it's of interest to them.
For sure. Yeah, and that could be, on selling new construction, the marketing, if you like to be in front of the camera, or it could be finding the deals, right?
Right.
Because, that pain points that I had was, we want to grow with our clients, our developers. We want to find them deals as well.
Yeah.
So I think with the line, right, you have hungry agents that are prospectors, right? And all they
Yep.
do is prospect, you know? But that one guy that finds the deals might not be good, or guy or gal might not be good at, being the face of the new condos and selling the new construction and staging and what
Right.
goes into that. So I feel like just swallowing the ego and leveraging and uniting together. I mean, I can definitely help all of the clients that I have under this umbrella
Yeah.
much more than previous.
No,
So
100%. And we're seeing that, in certain areas, we're seeing a market shift a little bit, or maybe some price reductions need to happen. And,
mhm.
it kind of depends. Every single pocket of where we're doing stuff in New Jersey has a really different, like, micro economy within it.
Yep.
And I think that that's what you've done a great job with as well, is staying ahead of the numbers and really analyzing the data for the
Mhm.
developer, for the
Sure.
for the builder, because if they can get out today at X amount without having to carry for another 6 months and
Yep.
move on to their next project, they may not have hit a grand slam, but if they can still hit a home run, it's a win-win.
For sure. And it's like I tell the developers I work with too, just, let's have the conversation before you buy the property, right?
Right.
Sometimes it doesn't happen, right? We're analyzing afterwards and, they're more pinched to get those numbers that they promise investors or whoever, but it's very important we have that conversation before on the sellouts, right?
Right.
And I think I take great pride and I think they respect me more by giving them the truth, right? It's not
Yeah.
always like what they want to hear. Like a lot of people say, but I think it's what we need to discuss, right?
Yeah.
The truth. And, I think there's more respect in really analyzing, really taking the time to analyze the trends of the market, with interest rates, fluctuating, how does that affect condo prices now and sellouts, right?
Yeah.
And how do you predict a year or 2 years ahead, what your sellouts are going to look like, right? You have to be very conservative
Yeah.
with your numbers. So,
The amount of projects I walk on too that I question what the heck the architecture was thinking, or the
mhm.
architect was thinking when he was, putting together the architecture of the build, the layout, the floor
Yeah,
plans, the
yeah,
wasted space where things don't work. It might look good on paper, and from a real estate agent's point of view at the end, it's just not. It's going to be a problem. It's going to, and we'll get anything done. But what I think is really interesting about you too is you'll get in on the design aspect of things ahead, where you can be like, listen, this is how we're netting the most amount of money based on this. I even had
mhm.
I spoke with a developer too that builds on 25 by 100s, and he was saying by getting the mechanicals,
Yeah.
it had parking. By getting the mechanicals out of that first floor,
I'm
you gain all that
shocked.
parking side by side.
You know what it is? It's time and
Yeah,
leverage, right? Because a lot of the time, the developers, they might not have the time to look at the plans, right?
right,
I'm fortunate to have one or two that really take the time to look and spend hours and we collaborate together. But for the most part, the reason why you're getting the ineffective, inefficient floor plans is because they just rely on the architect to kind of dictate that finalized
right,
drawing, right?
right.
And you can lose that, hundreds of thousands, right? So, and it's shocking, but not surprising, right? When we go do a deep dive on it, that there's a lot of money left, right, on the table
Yeah,
when you don't freaking analyze those floor plans for weeks.
yeah,
Changes here and there. The architects are there. Architects are there to execute
right,
for you, right? But at the end of the day, who is actually seeing the buyers come into the property?
right,
Is it the agents that are representing you, right? Um, for agent feedback, I'm calling, I haven't really got a call from agents too on showings, but I'm calling every agent, right, for their buyer's feedback,
right,
right? If you know me, if you showed one of my properties, you're getting a call from me
right.
because I want to actually track, like, what are the pros and cons
Yeah,
and then tweak it on the next design,
yeah,
right? And I think that's where the value is because anyone could stage a property,
yeah,
you know. I mean, what is the competition doing? Staging, obviously pricing is something that's a skill,
yep.
I think. But there's some skill that goes into the time it takes to develop the right floor plans for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's so important too. You hit the nail on the head. Getting buyer agent feedback, but like,
Hmm.
why didn't your client like it? What did they not like about the
Yeah.
property? What's wrong? Is it the price? This
Yeah.
is something one of the agents always said to me that I thought was great, where, they'll call and say it's listed at 800,000, and he'll be like, is it the price? And I'd be like, no. And he's like, would your clients buy it for 7? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, so it's the price. No, but
Yeah.
just getting into like, okay, we don't like the kitchen. We don't like this design. I mean, we had one in downtown Jersey
Mhm.
City that the buyer really wanted an electric garage door opener and was
Yeah.
hesitant on making an offer based on that. And I talked to the developer. I'm like, can we put that in?
Yeah.
And just figuring out little things that could turn a buyer off and could be a simple little fix as well.
For sure. And then you have inefficiencies like you might have speaker systems, right? In an area, up and coming area where you don't necessarily need that,
Right.
right?
I see that all the time too. They overbuild.
Yeah.
The,
And
the
so
demand's not there for it.
yeah, so we're constantly evolving from, the feedback that we've got. It could be, bathroom finishes, right? Or
Right.
kitchen finishes. We're taking out like the tile that is kind of, aggressive and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
we want to self-improve every project.
Yeah.
So we get top sell out and make the buyers happy.
Cool. I love it, man. Well, any other closing thoughts before we wrap up here?
No, man, I'm just great. I'm just happy and look forward to spending more time with you guys and the team.
Yeah.
All the agents that I've met with Align have been great. And I think joining a culture, right? It was either I created my own culture,
Yeah.
with Move with Mooring, or joined a culture that I truly believed in, with the core values that I believe in, trust, integrity, and really hitting the ground, with professional full-time agents that have same interests.
Yep.
And I think I've found the place. So.
I dig it, man. We're super grateful to be aligned with you as well. really big things coming from new construction. So if you guys are an agent that either knows of developers, wants to get into development, wants to sit open houses at new construction, whatever it may be, reach out to Jamie. He's going to be your guy.